ask my granddaughter to come up and share her experience session.
Hi, my name is Treya, and I'm a recovering addict. Love you too. Let's see. So today I wanted to basically congratulate my grandmother who's celebrating 44 years clean today. She introduced me to the program through the other fellowship. I've been around the fellowship since I was like 4, I think, 3 years old. So I remember I always knew about drugs and alcohol, always knew about NA dances, coffee, and donuts. So I admitted I was an addict when I was 16. I asked my grandmother to be my sponsor. She said no. But she did say, that was the first time I said I was an addict when I was 16. But today I wanted to, because last time I spoke for her, she was like, you just shared about your addiction. And I was like, oh, okay. But today, what's been on my heart and in my spirit is just really focusing on acceptance of like where people are at in their recovery. And I'm on the 10th step with my sponsor. We've been working together and in a unity. And that is this beautiful book. I just love it because I also have the NA Recovery Companion on my phone. So when everybody's reading the readings, I look on my phone and I read the readings with you guys because it helps me to stay focused. And so this little pamphlet I got from End of the Night meeting, it also has the readings on it. So while you're reading, I can look at the readings too. So NA Unity and step 1. So NA Unity to me is basically means that we're basically here to make sure I'm allowing you to recover. So wherever you're at in your process, whether you're, still lying, whether you're staying clean, but you're still lying, it's just you see my daughter eating, you letting the dog, I tell you not to bring the dog in the house while Laura's eating. She has a cheesecake in her hand, and you tell me she's not eating, and I'm looking at her eating, and you let the dog in, and you say she's not eating, but I'm looking at her still eating, and you still saying, and I'm thinking you lying, but later on I realized you were just joking, but I'm thinking you're lying, and I want to judge your recovery and saying you're not practicing the principles of recovery or something like that. Or if I've had a situation with a recovering addict, we had a personal conversation, we were talking about sex, and even though I'm married and he had a girlfriend, and I told his girlfriend, hey, this is what we talked about. I told my husband, this is what we talked about. They told me, since I'm married, you're not supposed to have conversations about sex. And I said, oh, okay. And then that person was like, we never talked about it. I never said nothing about it. And I'm like, what? Yes, okay. But I have to allow that person their process. So, and my grandmother's in a relationship. And she, even though I may not agree with how she's being treated, she says she's putting it in God's hands. Even though I believe I have to do the will of God. And I ask God, what do you want me to do? And I will say, husband, are you cheating on me? You came home late. Are you cheating? Or who's texting your phone? Or I'll pick up the phone. Who is this? To me, I have a right to ask if I feel like you're doing something wrong. But my grandmother will not ask anything. Nothing. She won't say nothing. She's going to leave it to God. So that's what she does. But I have to allow her process. So even if you're nodding in the meeting because you're taking prescription pain medication, And you've been doing it for years. And you just still nodding at me. And then you talking slow and you cheering the meeting. And you're slurring your words. But you still saying you clean. I have to allow your process. But me, the person I am, I still will have confronted recovering addicts and said, hey, do you think this is a problem? And they say, no, it's not a problem. I have to step back and say, okay, I can't do anything, because if you don't say it's a problem, then I cannot give you any help, because it says, what is your problem? You have to admit that you have a problem. Otherwise, I cannot give you any help. So there's nothing I can do about that. So it's all about acceptance and innate unity. And that's what we're here for. So unmanageability, I'm always thinking about what's unmanageable in my life. Right now, I had to seek outside help to get, how much time do I have? Okay. I'll close. Oh, it's been 6 minutes and 34 seconds. Okay. So unmanageability. Okay. Unmanageability, my home. So I have a big home and I came from an apartment. So I had to seek outside help because I don't like mess. And so I had to seek outside help to get organized, because manageability is about prioritizing. So I had to realize what do I need to, what is important to me? Like, what keeps me serene? So it's like, what helps me stay clean and serene? So it's not, for me, after the drugs wore off, the obsession to use, because in the beginning, that's why I relapsed, because I was working the steps and I did, read the whole book. I read the whole basic text in the beginning, the entire book from front to back. And I did step 1 when I first came. But then I relapsed because I wanted to use one more time, because I didn't think I was done. So even though I did the 90 meetings in 90 days, and I did a step 1, and I came, I still wanted to use just one more time. And then after that, I realized there was nothing really else out there for me but to just use some more. And I just didn't want my daughter to get molested. And I thought that is what was going to happen if I continued to use. Therefore, I was like, yeah, let me come back and try to stay clean. And that's how I stayed clean for 7 years. So yeah, just now it's just about keeping my serenity. So my home, I had to get outside help for that. And my psychiatrist just told me take one room at a time. And she told me to organize my laundry. She told me how to separate the clothes. And even though I had to take it a step at a time, and it seems like it takes longer to separate the stuff, it's still, doing it like that still helped me to make everything neater. And taking each room a step at a time and taking weeks to do everything, now everything is cleaner and more organized. So I don't know why we have to do the steps in order to stay clean, but it just worked. When you break everything down, I guess as addicts, we're just wired differently than normal people. So in closing, I just think it's best for us as recovering addicts to just learn what's important to you. And yeah, just learn what's important to you and just focus on that part. Thanks for letting me share.
Yeah, you need to follow alongside. I think it's something.